Okay, so we'll get a bit serious today because we have something very educational to discuss with you. This is for one of our subjects, which is Science, Technology, and Society, and we are here to talk about something very important and something that everyone should be aware about. Let's get into it. So, good day, I am Chloe Cruz. I am a fine arts advertising student from the University of Santo Tomas. And together with my colleagues, we are here to introduce to you the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, Reducing Inequalities. So first of all, what is the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals? So this started in 2015. The 2030 Agenda for the Sustainable Development was adopted by the United Nations since they have the same layout for the better future of the world. These SDGs aim to call for a collaborative action from all countries and a partnership in order to effectively make a sustainable future in health and well-being, education, and of course to finally reduce the hunger, poverty, discrimination, and inequalities, and most especially while still restoring and preserving our environment. And of course, we are here to talk about one of its goals, which is reducing inequalities. So what is it about and what does it aim to do within the next 10 years? What are the progresses as of now here in the country and around the world? Firstly, goal number 10 aims to reduce inequalities within and among countries. So too much of the world's wealth is held by a very small group of people. This often leads to financial and social discrimination. In order for the nations to flourish, equality and prosperity must be available to everyone, regardless of gender, race, religious beliefs, or economic status. When every individual is self-sufficient, the entire world prospers. So the world experiences regression in reducing income inequality due to this pandemic alone. Since there is a financial crisis, markets have been experiencing a great crisis because of the lockdown. And even after this chaos, more and more families will have to live with the effects in the near future, and it will continue to discriminate the most vulnerable. So what are the targets of the 10th Sustainable Development Goal? 10.1, reduce income inequalities. So by 2030, progressively achieve and sustain income growth of the bottom 40% of the population at a rate higher than the national average. 10.2, promote universal social, economic, and political inclusion. So by 2030, this goal aims to empower and encourage social, economic, and political involvement of individuals, regardless of their age, sex, disability, race, ethnicity, origin, religion, economic, and other status. 10.3, to ensure equal opportunities and end discrimination. To ensure equal opportunity and reduce inequalities of the outcome, including by eliminating discriminatory laws. These are eliminating policies and practices and promoting appropriate legislation, policies, and action in this regard. So 10.4, to adopt fiscal and social policies that promote equality. Adopt policies, especially fiscal, wage, and social protection policies, and progressively achieve greater equality. 10.5, improved regulation of global financial markets and institutions. So to improve the regulation and monitoring of global financial markets and institutions and strengthen the implementations of such regulation. 10.6, enhanced representation for developing countries and financial institutions. To ensure enhanced representation and voice for developing countries like us, those third world countries, African countries, in decision-making and global international economic and financial institutions in order to deliver more effective, credible, accountable, and legitimate institutions. Target 10.7, responsible and well-managed migration policies. To facilitate orderly, safe, regular, and responsible migration and mobility of people, including through the implementation of planned and well-managed migration policies. 10.7a, special and differential treatment for developing countries. In particular, least developed countries in accordance with the World Trade Organization agreements. 10.7b, to encourage development assistance and investment in least developed countries, encourage official development assistance and financial flows, including foreign direct investment to states where the need is greatest, in particular to the least developed countries, and small island developing states and landlocked developing countries in accordance with their national plans and programs. So we have to really collaborate with them. Lastly, the target 10.7C, reduce transaction costs for the migrant remittances. By 2030, reduce to less than 30% of the transaction costs of migrant remittances and eliminate remittance corridors with costs higher than 5%. Now, here to help me discuss about the progress and more information on the 10th goal, I'll pass it to Stephanie.
Thank you, Chloe. Hello, I'm Steph, also a fine arts student from the University of Santo Tomas. So, what are the updates on the progress of the 10th SDG since it has been implemented? As we progress forward throughout the pandemic, we find different ways to be able to live in the moment, as BTS says in their speech. The BTS SDG moment speech was definitely inspiring, as these adults got to think of the way they have been looking through the future generations. As the coronavirus got the best of us, we missed the best of events that we are supposed to experience in real life. Graduations, seeing friends at school, and many more. Therefore, people today usually call the youth as the lost generation. And it is safe to say that being labeled as that is not the best, as we are all just pushing through, getting things together. We are all just trying our best to grow and become the best versions of ourselves. As an individual that is part of today's youth, the message of BTS's speech is empowering, as it shows that the youth today have learned, understood, and grown. But as people only see things in a rose-tinted glass, adults usually presume that the future is grim, or the youth has no future, which is not true. Their speech have made a huge impact as they got to communicate and let people see things in a different perspective, the youth's perspective to be exact. It opened up the opportunities to create a change in the youth of the world. Their message in general meant that there is hope for a brighter future. It is not the end of the world, as we are all in one fight to find a solution to the end of this pandemic. As we are talking about the youth and the future, let's talk about the current situation of gender equality in the Philippines and the impact of coronavirus on this. So, the Philippines, compared to other nearby countries in Asia, is very good, as we are always on top of the list of the Gender Equality Index. According to the Global Gender Gap Report 2020, it shows that we have closed 78% of its overall gender gap, garnering a score of 0.781. The beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic has exaggerated pre-existing gender and social inequalities within the Filipino society, and in that note, gravely affected women. Yet the Philippines' previous efforts to uphold gender equality has helped lessen the cause of these issues. But unfortunately, there were a lot of setbacks when the pandemic hit the world.
Globally, we are expecting a setback because of the pandemic. We are seeing that, women's labor force participation. We are seeing the situation of gender-based violence is really getting worse, and a lot of access to different resources, especially social services in the health area. Social reproductive health is also being affected because of the pandemic. And with this, we are expecting that women really would bear the brunt of the pandemic, especially here in the Philippines.
Women in general have experienced more issues regarding gender equality. We are seeing that gender-based violence, sexual violence has gotten worse. People treating women in workplaces, and many more. The UNWomen We Empower Asia in the Philippines is a program that is trying to prevent these things from happening by implementing and facilitating women's workforce. They enhance gender responsiveness of the judiciary to promote gender equality in national plans and budgets, and strengthen legislation for gender equality. So as we are ending this video, the message we want to emphasize is that it is important to grow and understand these issues deeper, as it involves us and the future generations. It is vital to empower and voice our principles as a generation to promote a better future. Little efforts can go a long way in achieving a more equal society. we can reduce inequality together. So let's get involved. To learn more about the issues we have talked about today, you may visit the Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations official website, sdgs.u.org/goals.
Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you gained awareness or learned something, or we hope to have encouraged you to participate and get involved, and let's spread the word about these Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations, because this is just for the betterment of our future and for the future generations to come. Again, thank you so much. Bye!